All right, welcome everyone to another deep dive. Today we're tackling
Yeah.
Bruce Lee, the art of expressing the human body.
Awesome.
So for everyone listening,
Mm-hmm.
you know how this works. We take your suggestions and turn them into a full deep dive. And this one really caught my eye. I mean,
Yeah.
Bruce Lee, what's not to love?
Yeah.
I mean, we all know the movies, but
Yeah.
this book goes way deeper
Mm-hmm.
into like his actual training, his philosophy, his whole approach to really pushing the human body to its limits.
It's fascinating.
And
Isn't it?
you know, we've got the book itself, obviously,
Yeah.
which is amazing, like firsthand accounts, training regimens.
Yep.
But we also dug up some extra stuff too, articles, interviews.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So we're going to try to piece together the full picture here, not just the martial arts legend, but like
Mm-hmm.
Bruce Lee, the human performance machine.
The blueprint for like peak physical potential.
Yeah.
That's what we're aiming for. And I think there are some really valuable insights in here for anyone who's, interested in pushing their own limits, whether it's in the gym, on the track, or just in life.
Totally. So to kick things off,
Mhm.
this story from Alan Joe, it just grabbed me.
Yeah.
You know, he's talking about meeting Bruce Lee for the first time at Ruby Chow's restaurant in Seattle. And I mean, even back then, Lee's already got this
Mhm.
aura, you know.
Right. Right.
So Joe's demonstrating some gun fu, this specific style called Samseen Kun, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he throws a punch, just, showing Lee what he's got. And Lee just, bam,
Hmm.
uses this move called lop sao,
Oh, wow.
which is basically like
Yeah.
this controlling, pulling
Yeah.
technique,
Yeah.
and yanks Joe's arm so hard. Just like, whoa, almost got whiplash.
Oh, man.
That's like right there. That's Lee in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Pure skill, even just hanging out.
So even in a casual setting, he's demonstrating his mastery, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that little encounter kind of sparks this whole relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Lee ends up moving to Oakland, gets closer to James and Alan Joe, starts teaching, refining his own style.
And
It's funny, right? Because you think of Bruce Lee, you think
Yeah.
martial arts master.
yeah.
But there's this little tidbit in the book about him like dancing at Alan Joe's house. Apparently the
Yeah.
guy could cha-cha
Like really well.
like really well. Just shows you that incredible coordination wasn't limited to fighting. It was like ingrained in everything he did.
Totally. But things weren't all smooth sailing, right? At the Junfan Gung Fu Institute in Oakland, he runs into some serious pushback from more traditional martial artists.
Right, right.
And the sticking point. Lee teaching non-Chinese students.
Oh, interesting.
They're like, whoa, hold on, this is sacred. But Lee's like, no way. He's got this core belief that knowledge shouldn't be restricted.
Mhm.
He even draws on Confucius, like no class distinctions in teaching.
Wow.
And this all comes to a head in this confrontation at the Institute.
Okay.
I mean, it's not some big Hollywood fight scene or anything, but this challenger shows up, right? And he's circling the room, like pacing, sizing Lee up.
Then he runs into a back room and then back out with Lee right on his heels. And ultimately, Lee pins him down, asks in Chinese, "Are you giving up?"
That's intense.
Right. And it's a turning point. Because even though Lee wins, he's winded afterwards. It's not the level of fitness he wants. And this kind of lights a fire under him. He
Mm-hmm.
realizes his training, even though it's intense, it's not enough. And that's where
So that's where that relentless pursuit of superior fitness kicks in.
Yeah. You know, the never sit still nickname.
Yeah, right.
Totally accurate. The guy's reading with dumbbell,
Reading with dumbbells.
stretching while driving, always moving.
Oh, wow.
Like he's turning everyday life into a workout.
Like he's embodying this idea of constant physical engagement.
Totally.
Mm.
And that brings us to the heart of it all. The art of expressing the human body.
Mm.
Now, this isn't just a fancy title. It's how Lee described his martial art,
Right.
Jeet Kune Do.
Mm.
And it's not just about fighting. It's this whole philosophy
Yeah.
of training your body to be this incredibly capable, functional, and even like beautiful in its function.
I like that.
Right. Like there's an aesthetic to this.
Yeah, totally.
But here's the thing. Lee didn't just want to be like some isolated master. He famously said he wanted to be a common household name,
A common household name.
like Coca-Cola.
Wow.
And, Alan Joe points out, he achieved that.
He did it.
Global recognition, even in places like Shanghai,
Yeah.
which is like
Yeah.
incredible considering their history with, repression and all that.
Right. Absolutely.
So after that fight, the one where he's winded, remember, Lee knows martial arts alone isn't enough. He needs more.
Okay.
So where does he turn? Bodybuilding magazines.
What?
That's right, bodybuilding magazines.
That's surprising.
I know, right?
Yeah.
But back then, that was like
Yeah.
the main source of info on strength training.
Mm-hmm.
So he's soaking it all up.
So he sees value in bodybuilding training.
Oh, yeah.
Even though it seems kind of like separate from martial arts. What do you think?
Huh.
He's drawn to initially.
Well, it's all about the role of strength in martial arts.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. Stronger muscles, tendons, ligaments, that means more powerful strikes.
Right.
More speed, better endurance, and just generally better function.
Mm-hmm.
Like your whole body's working better.
Right. Absolutely.
But, and this is key, the book makes it clear. Lee didn't see weight training as the be-all, end-all.
No, not a shortcut.
Exactly, not a shortcut. It was a component, a crucial one,
Mm-hmm.
but not the whole picture. He actually uses this analogy of swimmers.
Swimmers.
Yeah, so back then, there was this idea that weight training would make swimmers,
Yeah.
like bulky and slow.
Muscle bound, right?
Exactly, muscle bound. But
Yeah.
it turned out the opposite was true. Weight training actually made them better,
Interesting.
more powerful, more explosive in the water.
Okay.
It's about how
Yes.
you apply it.
Yeah.
And this is where the book introduces the overload principle
The overload principle.
and adaptation,
Okay.
which is basically like you got to challenge your muscles
Mm.
to make them stronger,
Mm-hmm.
but you got to do it gradually.
Gradually, yeah.
So, you're lifting weights, you add a little bit more each time,
Right.
or you're doing push-ups, you do a few more reps. It's about pushing those boundaries,
Yeah.
but not so much that you get injured or,
Or too sore
too sore.
to train the next day, right?
Exactly. Now, the book talks about 4 main types of strength training
Okay.
Lee was into. Weightlifting, isometrics,
Biometrics.
calisthenics, and circuit training. So let's compare weight training and isometrics, because they both build strength,
Yeah.
but they do it in different ways, right? So
right.
isometrics, it's all about exerting maximum force
Maximum.
against something that doesn't move,
Okay.
like pushing against a wall or holding a really heavy weight.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be super effective for building strength at specific angles
So it's good for, like, targeting specific points. Yeah.
in the range of motion, but it doesn't do much for endurance.
Right. And ideally, you want to combine it with
Yeah.
other training. That works through a full range of motion.
Mm-hmm.
Weight training, on the other hand, it does increase muscle size,
Okay.
though that's not always the goal.
Right.
It also improves flexibility because you're going through that full range of motion.
Right.
And it builds tone, endurance
That's
through reps, lifting and lowering over and over.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it sounds like tracking your progress
Yeah.
is a lot easier with weight training.
Yeah, it's much more measurable.
Measurable, yeah.
You've got the weight, the reps. It's all right there.
Whereas isometrics,
Yeah.
you often need special equipment
Yeah,
to measure the force you're exerting.
exactly. And the book points out you can actually adjust
Just?
weight training to focus on different things.
Okay.
So if you want to build like max strength,
Yeah.
you lift heavy weights, fewer reps,
Mm-hmm.
kind of like isometrics in a way.
Mhm.
But if you want more endurance and tone, you go lighter weights, more reps. Yeah.
Like calisthenics. So you've got options.
Yeah, I've got flexibility. It's interesting though, because Lee was initially kind of skeptical of isometrics.
Yeah, he wasn't totally sold at first. And a lot of that,
Why is that? Why was he skeptical?
well, it was tied to anabolic steroid use
Yeah.
in weightlifting circles at the time. Like people were using it to get an unfair advantage. But then this guy, Bob Hoffman,
When Bob Hoffman
He's-
is like
this super respected coach,
a coach.
he's trained champion weightlifters.
Wow.
And he's a big proponent of isometrics, but like the legit kind, not the steroid-fueled kind. And he really convinced Lee.
Okay.
So Hoffman developed these 8 basic isometric exercises
8 exercises.
using a power rack. And the idea is you're pushing against this immovable bar with everything you've got for a short burst. And Lee stresses because there's no visible movement.
Right.
It's all about mental focus.
Mental focus.
Like 100% effort, concentration.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're not getting the full benefit.
You're cheating yourself.
Yeah.
Exactly. Now the book gets into the 3 basic positions in isometrics.
Okay.
Yielding,
Yielding.
overcoming, and static. But I won't bore you with the details.
Okay.
What's important is Lee took some of Hoffman's exercises and incorporated them into his training.
Okay, so which ones? Which ones did he use?
Things like presses at different heights in the power rack, pulls like you're trying to pull the bar apart,
That's right.
isometric squats,
Isometric squat.
and shoulder shrugs.
Okay, yeah, those make sense.
Right. So he's really exploring different avenues
Yeah.
of strength building here.
So when does he start, like, really getting into barbell training?
Well, Alan Joe tells this story
Yeah.
about how he introduces Lee to some basic exercises like squats, pullovers, bicep curls,
Classic.
starting with just 3 sets each. And Lee takes to it, like immediately. His strength shoots up. He starts seeing more definition in his upper body.
So he's getting those results.
Yeah, and that positive feedback probably fueled his passion for it, you know?
Right. But remember, Lee's focus is always on functional strength.
Functional
Strength for martial arts, not just size. So he mostly avoids those isolation exercises,
Okay.
the ones that just work one muscle at a time.
Mm-hmm.
There's one exception, though.
Hi, what's that?
Zottman curls.
Zottman curls.
You go,
Why those?
Well, they target the forearms, which are crucial for grip strength
Grip strength.
and wrist action.
Yeah.
Both super important in martial arts.
Right. Yeah, of course.
So his preference
Yeah.
is for compound exercises, the ones that work multiple muscle groups
Mm-hmm.
at the same time, like squats, deadlifts.
Yeah.
They hit your whole body.
They do.
And Lee understood they weren't just more efficient for building strength. They also helped develop those neuromuscular pathways,
Neuromuscular pathways.
the connections between your brain and your muscles,
Yeah.
which means better coordination,
Coordination, yeah.
more power, more fluid movement.
So it's not just about
Yeah.
brute strength.
Exactly. It's about how you apply that strength, how your body moves as a unit,
Right.
which is martial arts 101. Right?
Absolutely.
The book outlines this routine he called his general development routine,
General development routine.
which he did 3 days a week,
Yeah.
Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. And it was all about hitting those major muscle groups.
Mm-hmm.
So deadlifts
Deadlifts.
for the back, hamstrings, glutes, squats
Quads.
for legs and core, standing barbell press
Standing barbell
for shoulders, triceps, barbell curls for biceps, press behind neck. Again, shoulders, triceps, rowy movements for the back, and good mornings,
Good mornings.
which work the lower back and hamstrings.
Mhm.
Now, we don't have the exact details on the weights, sets, reps he used,
Uh-huh.
but the focus is clear. It's all about those big foundational movements.
The compound movements.
Exactly. Then he had this other routine
Oh,
called the 20-minute strength and shape routine.
20-minute strength and shape routine.
And this one was all about balance and like sculpting the
So
physique.
sculpting the physique.
Yeah, he did it Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And it's still used. Those compound movements,
Mm-hmm.
but often with heavier weights.
Okay.
And he knew you got to rest
Yeah.
between these intense sessions to let your body recover. So the exercises in this one,
Okay.
clean and press,
Clean and press.
which is a power move, full body.
full body.
Squats, again, for legs.
Pullovers.
Pullovers, which he believed expanded the rib cage, worked the lats. Bench press
Bench press.
for chest, shoulders, triceps. Good mornings. And barbell curls.
Yeah.
2 sets of about 8 reps for each.
Okay, so lower reps. Heavier weight.
Exactly. And Lee was very particular about form
And form.
and
And
breathing, like inhaling on the lift, exhaling on the lower, especially for curls. So each exercise
Right.
had specific benefits
Right.
for building certain muscles and shaping the body in a certain way.
Okay, so it's not just about lifting weights randomly.
It's about knowing what you're doing.
Understanding the purpose.
Yeah. And it's fascinating how those bodybuilding magazines
Mm.
actually influence some of his choices.
Oh, okay.
Like he got the idea
Yeah.
to combine squats and pullovers from those articles.
Interesting.
And it makes sense, right? He's all about efficiency,
Efficiency, yeah.
getting the most out of his time. And then we have this whole other thing, circuit training.
Oh, yeah, serpent training.
Lee got really into this. And it was sparked by his reading.
His feeding.
He was always reading. He comes across this research by Dr. Arthur Steinhaus
Dr. Arthur Steinhaus.
on physiology. And then these articles
What are...
by G.T. Gajda about something called peripheral heart action,
PHA.
or PHA.
Okay.
And this really catches his attention. So,
So break it down. What is PHA?
okay, so
Okay.
PHA is basically this idea of keeping your blood circulating
Regulating.
throughout your body during a workout. So you're constantly moving from one exercise to another
Okay.
without much rest. And this helps with strength,
Yeah.
endurance, flexibility.
Flexibility.
It's like a more holistic way of training.
I see.
And Lee, he loved that.
So it wasn't about just building big muscles?
Exactly. It was about creating this really efficient and resilient physical system. So he develops this thing called his sequence training routine.
Sequence training routine.
Which he did 6 days a week.
6 days a week.
Alternating between 2 programs.
Okay.
And it included running, of course.
Yeah.
For cardio, calisthenics, like the cat stretch, the squat.
The cat stretch.
Yeah, which he actually learned from studying this famous Indian wrestler, Gama. And then dynamic exercises, things like jumping squats, shoulder circling, leg raises, reverse curls, sit-up twists, alternate leg raises, wrist roller work.
Wow, that's a lot packed in.
Right, and most of these exercises he did for 1 minute each.
1 minute?
Keeping that blood flowing.
Oh, it's all about
constant movement.
Exactly.
And then we have to talk about the Marcy circuit training.
Yeah, the Marcy. It's iconic. He got one in December 1972, and it was shipped over to Hong Kong. His friend Herb Jackson, who is like this amazing craftsman, even helped put it together.
Yep. And you can really see the impact of this machine in Enter the Dragon. Like his physique in that movie.
Yeah.
It's insane. Bob Wall. And Bolo Young, who both starred in the film. They've talked about how intensely Lee trained on that Marcy, using cables, different angles, bodybuilding type movement.
So he's incorporating elements of that into his training.
Absolutely. So we've talked about strength.